From the time that they pronounced me dead was a good 45 minutes.
They cut my clothes and then they paddled my heart, 'cause my heart had stopped. And I could see people screaming and crying, but I didn't realise that was actually my physical body because I was somewhere else.
The only thing that I could feel, if you could imagine, absolute love and peace. There wasn't anything else to be felt.
I was greeted by people I'd known in the past.
I'm back home again.
Incredibly safe and felt at home.
Welcome to Round Trip Death, everybody, and a special and warm welcome for Marilyn Yvette coming to us from Canada. How are you today, Marilyn?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today, Eric.
Thank you for being patient with me. Our listeners don't know what we're talking about, but I was not off to a great start today. But what part of Canada do you live in?
So I'm just north of Toronto, so I think a lot of people have maybe heard of Toronto. So it's kind of just heading into the eastern region of the country.
So up there above the Great Lakes somewhere.
Yeah, Lake Ontario is close.
Okay. It's me pretending like I know geography, which I don't. I wasn't too bad at it back in 8th grade, but didn't stick with me as well. Before we jump into your near-death experience, which is an interesting one. We talk about drowning from time to time, but we'll get to that in a minute. I want our listeners to get to know you. Tell us a little bit about you.
So I am a mother, and I worked mostly in the business sector, and that's where my school and like college and university is based in business programs. But I have been also marrying that up with a spiritual path along the way. So I have a lot of things like holistic health practitioner, cognitive behavioral therapist, spiritual life coach. So the list goes on. I just finished a certification for an end-of-life doula. So now I'm looking at marrying up the business aspect with the spiritual aspects and just rolling into that full time.
Yeah, we've had a handful of end-of-life doulas on the show.
You have?
Yeah, I think it is fabulous. Most people have never heard of it. I hadn't heard of it until we had the first one on a while back, but it makes so much sense because we don't know how to deal with death. We don't even like to talk about it.
Yeah, and it's for me, the passion is helping them not fear death and what happens after, and helping the family accept it and understand what's happening after. So that's where my passion lies there.
Yeah, maybe someday we'll have a whole death doula show, but in the meantime, we have the happy ending deaths where people come back.
Yeah.
So let's get into that. And this happened to you when you were a child. Take us back. You were only, 5 years old?
Yeah, approximately 5 years old, and kind of lived in a cottage country town, beautiful, much like where I live now. It was just one of those, beautiful sunny days. You could feel the sun just kissing your skin and just the sounds of summer at this public beach that we live close to. So I was there with my sister and my mom, and we wanted to go swimming, but we weren't over where the lifeguard and, they have the safety buoys, so you don't go beyond that. And usually, the sand is leveling up so that it slowly goes down to swim. So where we were, it just kind of dropped down, and I was just little. And I'm not sure I even was a strong swimmer, to be honest, but I was swimming away and just frolicking and having a great time. And then all of a sudden, I was under the water, and I don't know if it was a bit of an undertow or something, but I just couldn't get to the surface at all. I was struggling, and I was trying to, swim my little heart out. And then I really started to panic because I couldn't breathe, and I'd been under there for a bit. Just then, when I was at the height of feeling, absolutely mortified that I wasn't going to make it, I heard somebody say, "Marilyn, it's okay. You're going to be okay. I'm here to help you." So I opened my eyes and I looked, and there was this angel. So although we were both underwater at the time, she was completely dry, and she had very long blonde curly hair like me, but her hair was much longer, and she was, maybe early teen looking. And when she spoke to me, she didn't move her lips, but I could hear her. It was just, she was so serene that she calmed me immediately. The whole water was all lit up in like this yellow kind of glow. But the feeling of being like wrapped in a warm, soft blanket and feeling safe and secure, I just relaxed. And so as she was saying, come to me, it's okay. Come to me, it's okay. And she was doing this, I could feel myself going with her. The next recollection I have is waking up in the hospital and the nurse giving me heck because I had soiled the bed with all the water, I guess. But it was in the newspaper, and I guess I was in there for 2 weeks. So it was, I guess, a pretty big deal. But I've never forgotten it. I've never forgot a single detail, how she looked, how she sounded. And then my daughter had an interaction with her much later, and this person had said, or this angel had said, I'm here protecting your mom, don't be afraid. And I lived in the house I had, I think it was on a old burial ground because there was a lot of stuff going on. I'd never described how she looked or anything, but she described her to a T to me, and it was the same angel I had seen based on the description.
Okay, some people would ask, how do you remember something very well when you were only 5 years old? I don't remember much from when I was 5.
Well, that's a great question. And I think I would ask the same thing. I think anybody that's gone through this, you say, when you know, you know. But if you haven't, I would question. But what I can say is, and especially with some of the studies I've done in psychology, when you have traumatic experience like that, that's really imprinted in you more so than like a nice healthy day at the beach or something like that. You know, you remember having a nice day and feeling warm and fuzzy, but when something is so traumatic as that, like that affects your central nervous system, it's imprinted in you, but it's such an emotional experience that I think that's what is long lasting. I questioned it as well. When I found my family many years later, I had talked to them quite a bit about different things I remember, and that was one thing. But I just, for instance, I thought I saw a giant and I fell off a horse, but apparently it was a family friend, and she was 6'5", and I did fall off this horse, and that was even younger than that. So I do have recollections of that, and I've never wavered from what I've said from then till now. And they were able to tell me, yes, that those are things you remember, that's what happened, and that's what you said at that time.
Well, and I totally believe you. It's just, it has to be like you're saying, some kind of a larger than life, shall we say, experience for you to remember from when you were that young. So it was obviously super, super profound. Let's talk more about the angel in a minute. I want to ask you some more questions about that. But has your family since told you anything else that happened, like how you were rescued? Were you alive when you were rescued? Not that that matters, because near death experiences, frankly, can be something very close to that. And we call those associated experiences, and that's fine too. But tell me what you know about what happened.
Well, that's a great question. So I guess it was it was a small town, so it was broadcast on the news quite quickly. My father heard it, and he was like, "Oh my God, I know that's one of my daughters." And he flew down there just as they were loading me into the ambulance.
Where were you, by the way?
So the lake was called Lake Couchiching, and it is in Aurelia, Ontario, which is about, I want to say, three hours north of Toronto in the Muskoka region. You may have heard of Muskoka's. A lot of people vacation there from the U.S. Even Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell had a cottage up that way.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. I just was curious where it is. So your father flew up there, and then what happened?
Yeah, so they were loading the ambulance and they had to revive me for sure. And I guess what happened, I don't know if somebody told a lifeguard or ran and grabbed a lifeguard, but I was saved by a lifeguard. And I'm wondering if that's when I felt the pull. I hope to find him someday and say thank you. But yeah, it's just a young fellow on duty, and he was the one who rescued me. Yeah, they did have to revive me as far as I know. It's what my father told me.
Okay. Let's get back to that pull thing. I didn't really understand that. Did you feel like this was a pull that was saving your life, or like the angel was pulling you like, come on, we're headed off to heaven now, young lady?
So I was being pulled straight. So when she pulled like this, I could feel my body move, although she wasn't touching me. So as she pulled, I came forward with her. So I felt that strong pull as if somebody had to grab me, but I wasn't pulled up. I was pulled straight. I was like, yeah, I'm good to go with you. I was feeling like that was just the way, it was going to be. And I didn't feel scared anymore. I felt safe. So I went with it. So I'm wondering, and I have no idea, but, would that be when the lifeguard jumped in, or because I've had so much psychic experience since then, just really incredible things. I was told later by somebody who was trained by Dolores Cannon in quantum healing that young Marilyn passed away, and I was actually a walk-in because they don't want to waste a body, and because my early life was so difficult that somebody stronger who could go through that came in, but I don't know for sure.
Tell me more about the angel. I believe you said she looked like a young teen.
Yeah, so she wasn't quite an adult, but she also wasn't a kid like me. She was older, so I was thinking she looked about 14, maybe 12, 14. She had very, very long blonde curly hair, but it was like down to her feet, like down to her ankles. And she was wearing a gown, and her wings were outstretched, and the gown wasn't moving with the water or wet, and neither was her hair. So I thought even then that's kind of odd, but and then there was a huge glow of like yellowish bright, and the closer it was to her, the brighter it was, and then it kind of mushroomed out into a bright yellow, and it didn't even look like we were in the water. We were just in this bubble.
When your daughter explained what she looked like to her, were there specific details such as, besides the hair, eye color, what she was wearing, things like that, that you recognized as being the same?
Yeah, she said, "Mom, she looked like you when you were little." And she really did. We looked quite a bit alike, but we didn't look exactly alike. So just that light eyes, like, I don't know if you can see or not, but my eyes are really quite light. And so she had those. Fair. She was fair, just really like, small features, very, very feminine.
I'm going to ask you to speculate here. Do you think she had some kind of relation to you? And that's why she was assigned to you or concerned with you and looked like you?
Wow. You know what? Nobody's ever said that. That makes absolute sense. Yeah, that could be the case. I don't know why that never occurred to me before, because she did look so much like me. My mom had twin girls after I was born, so I was only a couple years old, but they passed away. So I don't know, maybe it could be them, or a distant relative, like, that had already passed.
That'd be a great thing to find out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I just did a huge family, what traced us all the way back to King Louis. So, but I'm going to meet with some of the cousins and see if we can share our pictures. So it would be interesting if there was one like that. It's under the Empire Loyalist of Canada. I don't know if you've heard of that, but the early settlers to Canada. So that's the status that I was researching for our family. So I should look into that.
I have a feeling you won't find someone with hair all the way down to their feet. So don't get hung up on that one.
Yeah.
But everything else, interesting. Okay, tell me what was going on with your daughter when she had an experience with this same angel.
Yeah, so she was visiting me so at that point we lived in different cities, and she was down for like a long weekend visit. And where I lived, there was a lot of action in the basement, and I had like some pretty profound experiences there. And I didn't even like to go downstairs. Like, you see the people, they just beat it up the stairs if I had to go down there at all. And it was just a particularly difficult time in her life too then. And she had fallen asleep on the couch, and I did have like bedrooms, but she had fallen asleep. And then she woke up and she was, Mom, get out here, get out here. Across from the couch, I had like an open stairway that would go downstairs, but there was a railing. And she said that this angel was standing at the top of the railing of the stairs, looking down the stairs. And she noticed that my daughter saw her. And she said, "Don't be afraid. I'm here for your mom. I protect your mom." And then I said, "What did she look like?" And she said, "Like you, but only younger, like as a kid." And she said the same. She had the long blonde hair, the wings, the gown, stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty neat. So I'm assuming that's a guardian angel. If she's still around, that would have been a good 40 years after the original incident.
If I were you, I'd want to know who that person is. I hope you're not going to go crazy with that seed I planted now. So, not very many people have an experience like this as a child. It probably made you a little bit different than everybody else growing up. In what ways do you think it did?
So obviously, I was a lot more serious. I was trying from a very young age to figure out, the meaning, like, why are we here? What's the meaning of life? I had experience previous to that with Jesus that I found out later was Jesus. So I knew there was something. So I was very, very spiritual at the time. Later on, when I was, because I was in foster care a lot as a kid, when I was finally placed in a permanent home, it was a Catholic, we were Catholic, and I went to church like every single morning. And on Saturdays and Sundays, I was very serious about it. I just wanted to envelop myself in it and learn it all. And I wanted to serve God. So I went away to study to be a nun for a bit. But they're like, yeah, no, you can serve God lots of ways, but that just wasn't the right fit. But I had experience after that with many near misses that said to me, something is there, and I should believe it. And without even having an early knowledge of religion, I was very much submerged in it. I've never really felt like, even when I'm in a crowd of people, I always feel like, what am I doing here? Like, I just always feel kind of different. So with the gifts that I've had since then, I because we grew up at a time where they said, don't talk about that, that's evil, that's bad, or they'll think you're crazy or a witch or something. So I kind of just blocked it as much as I could. And I guess in the last, close to 10 years, I've been just letting it flood through and accepting it. And now I'm trying to help others with it. So I'm creating courses and wrote a book last year and newspaper articles and now your podcast. And I just want to help people understand that they don't have to fear death, that it's actually was very wonderful. I would have went and stayed if I could have.
What's your book called?
It's called Keeping the Light On, A Soul's Journey of Ascension, and it's under Marilyn Yvette. So that is kind of a compilation of stories of what little experiences I've had. So instead of writing it as a novel, I wrote it almost like a diary so that you could see, this is when I had an out-of-body experience and went to another life. Or this, I often have people come to me when they pass before I even get the news, or shortly thereafter. So I wrote about all those kinds of things so that people can feel safe in the knowledge that you're going to be okay and it's actually pretty great over there.
Are you familiar with the term shared death experience?
No.
Okay. Look it up. This is something, if you're familiar with the IANDS group, IANDS.
Yes, actually, I just joined it.
Okay. I've been to some of their conferences and things, and there are other related experiences to near-death experiences. One is shared death, which can happen in kind of different ways. I'm no expert on it, but in some way you're sharing an experience with someone who's died. For example, someone a while back that I had on the show was telling me that they woke up in the middle of the night one night. Grandpa was standing at the foot of their bed. They had a short conversation. She gets up the next morning. Her mom says, "Hey, I need to tell you, Grandpa passed away last night." Or you could be in the same room as an end-of-life doula. You may have some of those kinds of experiences. They don't happen all the time, but they can be very interesting.
A pretty cool one that was a shared experience with my grandmother, that somebody else passed and came to us both and had told her, I've already been to see Marilyn. So when we went to go break the news, because it was their daughter, and she was like a sister to me, she said, I already know. She told me that she'd already been to see you, and I was just floored.
Yeah. So those things happen sometimes too. This stuff is all related, isn't it?
It sure is. It's all connected, everything, yeah.
What do you think is the point? Because I think all near-death experiences teach us something. What do you think was the point of yours?
Well, I really think we're here to ascend and learn and feel and understand, and whether it's karma or just your soul going through these experiences to ascend. So something like that was maybe so that I could help others with that, especially at such a young age. But I was also in a very difficult situation. It was, time of hippies when I was born, and it was a very tough life for us as children. We went through some awful experiences. And so maybe that helped me to keep the hope or the flame going, so I myself wouldn't give up, because, many times I felt like this is happening. But I've helped so many people in the same situation my entire life. Like the nickname Mother Marilyn is there for that reason. And maybe that was part of it.
What advice do you have for someone who may have gone through an experience like this, some kind of an NDE, and just hasn't been able to talk to anybody about it? I think you mentioned you didn't really talk about it for a long, long time. Was it good to not talk about it? Is it better to get it out there and talk about it?
Yeah, I definitely think it's better to get it out. I did talk about it in a personal space with people that I felt were like-minded or akin to hearing something like that. I didn't talk to people outside or religious people because I knew I'd be labeled. But nowadays, I think it's far more acceptable. I mean, science has proved that there is consciousness that leaves our body, and we do have science to back that up. But what I would recommend if somebody goes through this is to seek people out, such as yourself or myself or anybody who's been through that kind of thing, so that they're telling that story in a space where it's safe and they can be comfortable. Give them the confidence that what happened to them is probably what they think happened. And I think anybody that's been through it can tell you there's so many of the same shared feelings, because it is so difficult to describe in that moment how you feel, because it's different than here. You're weightless, you're safe, you're warm, you're happy. I think that would help them to accept that this happened, and then maybe they could go on to help others as well in time.
Those feelings that you just mentioned, do you have any more of them that you remember from when you were 5 years old? How exactly did you feel?
I guess I can say, safe was the number one word. I would use safe, warm, but love magnified by millions. It's all light and love, and it just encompasses you, and it wraps you in a cocoon, and that's all you feel. And so, of course, you're going to say, sure, I'll go with you. It's wonderful. It's incredible.
Okay. You mentioned something about having no fear of death. Do you really mean that?
Yeah, so I've been through cancer several times, and I think when you face your own mortality, things go into perspective to begin with. But the fact that I've been on the brink and had many close calls, and things have happened, I have zero fear of death. Matter of fact, I'm like, when I get there, I want to talk to this person, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. So it's almost something I'm looking forward to in an odd way to say, but yeah, I have zero fear at all.
Maybe give that angel a big hug.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they'll be at the bridge.
Okay, I'm going to give you the last word here, Marilyn. And by the way, thank you so much for coming on the show, for reaching out to us, and being willing to tell your story. Last word, go ahead and just give any advice that you have. You've learned a lot from this experience. It changed your life. If somebody out there is wondering, is this all real or not? What do you have to say to them?
I can tell you with absolute certainty it is all real. There's too many experiences myself and many other people have had that you can say it is, lack of oxygen or whatever they previously claimed it was. Look up the studies. Science has backed it up and proved it. You could even see people leaving, the soul leaving the body at death in a lot of photos and stuff. It's just a different vibration than what we're in. Earth is very heavy. Think of the gravity and stuff, and there it's light. If you are lighter and you are happier in your life and you're doing good things with good karma, you'll find yourself closer there and starting to experience these kinds of things. But there's absolutely nothing to fear. As long as, you haven't been somebody like Adolf Hitler, there should be no reason why you won't experience that. The people that have gone before you are there. They're waiting for you. They're very happy. In a different venue, I could talk about what I've seen there other times. Yeah, it's going to be okay.
Better than okay or just okay?
Oh, absolutely fantastic. Fabulous.
All right. Thanks a lot, Marilyn.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for listening and sharing this podcast. Don't forget to hit the follow or subscribe button and sign up for our newsletter at roundtripdeath.com. If you want to share your near-death experience, or if you have questions or comments about the show, send an email to eric@roundtripdeath.com. Until then, I wish you everything good that you're looking for in this life and the next.